Yo, what up, Street Talks? There, Kim. All right, Turbo Thoughts. So this one is on America, American things, a critique of American thinking, but also a praise of American thinking and so forth. So I think one of the great reasons of America and being an American, etc., is I think Americans and being American is kind of the closest thing we have to becoming the new ancient Greeks, right? So things I'm proud of, or I mean some facts, right? So first and foremost, America has the biggest military in the world, maybe by a factor of 1000x or 800x. You know, I was reading this like funny China Times propaganda piece, and essentially it was critiquing how America has like 800 plus military bases around the world, whereas China only has one, maybe in Africa. And kind of like what Tony Stark, aka Robbie Downey Jr. said in the original Iron Man, is weapons promote peace. And so it's like, you're not a weapons dealer, you're a peace dealer. And I mean, I'm super anti-war. I don't wish death or destruction or any sort of hardship on anybody, but it does seem like the fact is, you know, military does promote peace insofar much as nobody in the world wants nuclear holocaust, and therefore all governments kind of, you know, they're kind of waving their stick, but no one really wants to use it, right? And there's lots of good things about being American, a lot of bad things about being American. So first and foremost, like, you know, I was born in the States, born and raised, and I really do appreciate the notion of American individualism. It's I mean, just for myself as an individual, right? It's that, like, I like the idea that I could direct my life how I please, and whether or not that manifests in the way that I actually want is up to fate, but at least I could, you know, pursue my own life according to my own will, right? Now the downside of being Asian, Chinese, etc. is everything is kind of for the greater good of the motherland, and the individual is only as a means to the greatness of the state. So for example, even in China, right, ultimately everything comes back towards increasing the valor of China, not as a means of elevating the individual. So, you know, like a lot of Chinese individuals, rich mainland Chinese, you know, they got the Rolls Royce, the Lambos, whatever, the Maybachs, but then their personal prosperity and richness is only via means to better the Chinese nation, right? Whereas in America, the general ethos is a minimal viable government with maximum liberty in order to elevate the individual to the maximum. So in America, the state, the nation state, is a means to greaten the individual. So once again, in the West or America, whatever, the height and the greatness of the individual is the goal, whereas in Asia, the individual is only as a tool, as a end goal of the collective or the state or whatever have you. Anyways, so I think this is why there's so much great individualism or so much great tech innovations that come out of America, because I don't even think it's necessarily getting super rich which actually drives Americans. I think it's what motivates Asians and the Chinese. They're motivated by money, right? But I think Americans are more interested in this notion of personal valor or personal grandeur, and money is simply a byproduct, right? And so even for Jay-Z, right, like I don't think his goal was to become rich for the sake of it. It's just more like, you know, a kid who's born into the projects, how far upwards can he fly in the racist American structure we got? I think that was his ultimate interest. And even Steve Jobs, right, like his goal was to create insanely great technological tools, products, right, like a bicycle for the mind. For him, I mean, the guy subsisted on a entirely vegetarian vegan diet when he was doing his weird living abroad in India kind of thing, and he could really care less about money. He only cared for beautiful things, creating beautiful things. Like he's really into his Mercedes car, not because it was expensive, but he just thought the design was great. And so I think this is where a lot of people go astray, is when they think that they should be motivated by money, or they think that money should be the ultimate motivator rather than the pursuit towards individual greatness, right? So even in Silicon Valley, right, the metric of success is, you know, whether your company IPOs or becomes $1 trillion company, whatever. However, I think perhaps a more robust goal should actually be tech entrepreneurs and founders seeking to become these great immortalized individuals. So it's so funny, like even with Instagram, right, Kevin Systrom and the other guy, nobody knows the other guy's name. Even Kevin Systrom, nobody talks about him no more. Even the guy who invented WhatsApp, he sold his company for what, like $1 billion, 10 billion, I forget exactly what, but even he tweeted to leave Instagram, so he's probably kicking himself in the butt for selling Instagram, WhatsApp. And even Mark Zuckerberg, right, like you know, regardless of what people say, like, I don't think he's evil, I don't think he's a lizard, whatever. He's just kind of like a normal dude who, I think he actually does have really good interest in mind. Like he does want to improve humanity and society. Even in the early days, he was very anti-advertising, and he didn't want to put advertisements on Facebook, but alas, he succumbed. And I think what Mark is thinking is, he's thinking of like the pernicious effects of Facebook, Instagram, etc., social media, you know, advertising, making money as a means of global equality and internet access and empowerment of people's lives. So ultimately, I think his end goal is good. The means, I think, is kind of like he's trying to find the path which is least bad. But anyways, so anyways, you know, Jeff Bezos, etc. So all the great tech entrepreneurs are all American, right? Even the most successful Asian companies like Tencent, right? They bought out Riot Games 100% stake, which produces League of Legends, which is in itself a clone of Dota, which was initially a Warcraft 3 mod, right? I don't know exactly if it's Americans who invented it, but maybe, I don't know. Even the internet was invented by the Americans. I think it was DARPANET. It was initially a military device. DARPANET. You know, the automobile car, the Ford, right? Ford Model 3, Ford Model something, invented in the States. And even now, right, the world's most popular camera is probably a smartphone iPhone camera, and also GoPro, which I'm recording on this American company. So why is it that all the great innovations happen in America? I think it is because several things. I mean, certainly every country saw its own propaganda, right? But I think the propaganda of America is kind of the least bad. I mean, at least in my generation, right? Like, I was born in 1988. It's like, it's all about individualism, being unique, being a one-of-a-kind, making a positive change in the world, putting a dent in the universe, that kind of thing. Now I think the American ethos, it's kind of more of like, I think it's more like environmentalism and wokeness than anything, but I'm not really super for that. It feels a little superficial, but anyways, and also, you know, like what's invented in America, you know, Hollywood, bodybuilding, Arnold, even though